Good morning. Up now, we have Bringing Sustainability into Play with our speaker, Malte Niebelschuetz. Malte?
Awesome. Good morning. I'm really excited. You guys are humbling me. This is a huge turnout. It's 9:30 in the morning, and I'm really happy and honored to be staying in front of you here and talking about sustainability, because sustainability really is my passion, and I guess this is the right button. I want to base my talk on these three pillars. And the first one, like, I love quotes. The first one is from Nick Mowbray, one of the co-founders of Zero, probably not the person that comes right to mind when we talk about sustainability, but he said something really interesting when they started the company, right? They did a lot of innovation, and he found out the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, also applies to innovation. You cannot overwhelm your customer. You have to iterate, you have to innovate with the 80-20 rule. If you have too much innovation in a product, they get overwhelmed and they don't understand it. And the same thing applies to sustainability. I think sustainability is an iteration and not a final destination. So what is sustainable today is something different than it was 20 years ago, and is something different that it will be 20 years from now. The second pillar is a quote by a British actress, and I always say that, like, the customers, we hold all the power. We literally hold all the power, and we vote every single day with our shopping receipts. We don't only vote 3, 4, 5 years. There was a lot of election, there's a lot of political talks happening lately, but we hold the power. Every single day we vote with our shopping receipts, and the companies, those are the ones that have to comply. If you do not provide what the customer wants as a company, you will be out of business pretty soon. Easiest form of democracy. And the third pillar, sustainability only works at a compatible price point. And a compatible price point is the exact same price point. The customers are willing to pay more for sustainability, in my opinion, is a myth. We did market research, we did like the target groups, the online surveys, all of that. Asking, would you be willing to pay $1 more if the product is sustainable? And when it's anonymous, everyone says yes. Of course, I pay $1 more. Reality is in the shop or the point of sale, people don't. But we only have 20 minutes, so I really want to make this valuable for you. So you should get the most out of here today, not just take a quick bookmark. I have that here. But I want to tell you why I think I'm the right person to stay in front of you today and talk about sustainability. I'm a toypreneur. I learned that word through the industry. I'm the founder of Sure Buddies. We got famous for the first stuffed animal made 100% from recycled plastic bottles, bringing it to the market. And we're nominated for a Toady back then in 2021. So sustainability, again, is an iteration process. We didn't win the Toady. Baby Yoda won. You can't beat a Jedi. But I'm a social entrepreneur. I really believe business is the way to improve the world. I'm a change maker. I'm an author. There are some bookmarks out here. It has nothing to do with the toy industry. This book, I'm working on a second book right now about social entrepreneurship. Again, I think businesses are the ones who can really help and better the world. I have a podcast called the Sustainable Toy Podcast. Follow it on Spotify. Find me on LinkedIn. In my free time, I love active stuff, soccer, sailing, anything water related, reading, and of course writing. But my real passion is the plastic in our oceans. So I live in San Diego by the ocean, and it's really shocking. Who of you have been lately to the ocean? Have been by the beach, you go into the water and you see a lot of plastics there. And we're in the toy industry, so it's all about money, so I want to play a little bit Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with you guys. So what do you think? How much plastic ends up in our ocean? This is not about the plastic that is already in there, right? You guys heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? Plastic twice as size, or an island twice as size, the size of Texas. How much plastic ends in the ocean? 2 million, 4 million, 6 million, 8 million. Just shout it at me. It's a shocking 8 million tons of plastic every single year. And how many animals are affected, meaning dying by plastic every single year? 500, 100,000, a million, or 10 million? Shout it. Shout louder. 10 million, it's not 10 million. It's 1 million, but that's more than enough. That's every single year. That's turtles, like our Shelly right here. That's seabirds, whales. If you need a picture of that, that's a whale, because they really die in the most horrible way. They consume the plastic floating in the ocean with their natural diet because they cannot decide underwater if this is a jellyfish or if this is a plastic bag. And they die the most horrible way with a full stomach. So they do not get any nutrition, but plastic, and then they literally starve to death with a full belly of plastic. In disclosure, this is not an actual whale. It's art installation in the Philippines, but you get the picture. Plastic takes 500 to 1,000 years to decompose. That's estimates. We invented that stuff in 1904, so a little bit over 100 years. And again, we learned over 1 million marine animals die, not just affected, doesn't even count the ones that are entangled in plastic. So you get the message, and the problem is getting worse than better. The United Nations is estimating that by 2050, there's gonna be more plastic than fish in our oceans if we keep doing what we're doing. And I think we need to start a little bit earlier, right? So there's a lot of cleanup and all of that happening right now, but we learned 8 billion tons of plastic is added to the ocean every single year. So in my opinion is, like when you get home from Toy Fair, you come home and you find your kitchen floor flooded. What is the first thing you do? You're not taking out the mop and cleaning up when the water is still running. So we really need to turn off the tap. And this is where we with Shore Buddies bring sustainability into play. Not only is it made from recycled material, I think this is a given when you have something sustainable in a product, but we teach kids from an early age on environmental values so they can stop ocean plastic pollution in the long run. Those of you who are in educational toys know the importance of learning something before the age of 7, because this really forms values and habits for an entire lifetime. So our goal really is to make sustainability a second language through play. It's like riding a bicycle, right? That's what they say. Because most of us have learned how to ride a bike before the age of 7. But it's the toy industry, right? Everything we see around here, it's about money. No purpose without profit. So I'm not staying here and telling you, you have to be sustainable and forget all of that. No, actually I'm here, I want to show you how you can make money with sustainability. Because there is no purpose if you have no profit. And here are the essentials why you should think in your toy company about sustainability. Because the customers, they're already looking for that. They looking for sustainable products, and a lot of times they cannot find it. Retailers, I don't know if anyone from Walmart or Target or the big mass retailers are here in the audience today, but they have quotas. One of the big mass retailers in the US, I know it's 30%. They have to bring in sustainable products on their shelves. And licenses as well. For those of you who have been in Nuremberg, they have a great section called Toys Go Green, where they showcase the products that are sustainable. And they do that every year. And for me, this year was really exciting to see the big licenses are going there. There were SpongeBob, there was Disney, so they are really going the sustainable route. And I know from an inside information that there's a famous animated dog TV series, and they are looking for sustainable products only in their licensees. And of course, they have certain criteria. So those are things that not will be in the future. This megatrend is already happening now. And then the organizations, they just want to outshine, right? They want to be ahead of the game. It can be your toy company, or it can be your customers, right? Like resorts, zoos, they really asking for all of that. They are not doing anything more, not sustainable. And I really believe it doesn't matter the political direction we're going in right now, right? So there's a lot of change happening in the world right now when it comes to politics. And we might see a little dip when it comes to the discussion about climate change or CO2 emission. What will not happen, I can guarantee you that, is that we're going to go back to extensive plastic packaging. Your customers will not accept that. So we're halfway through. Is this valuable so far for you? Good? Awesome. Let's talk about greenwashing. And there are two ways of greenwashing. One is really the legal way, right? This is pretty simple. You say something, you say this is made from recycled plastic bottles, and it's not. That's a false claim, right? And there's certain regulations there, but this is fraud. So we do not really need to talk much about that. If you do something, or if you say something that you're not doing, that's fraud, that's false claim. The other one, and I think this is more the one that speaks from the customer mind, it's an individual perception. Like a lot of times greenwashing is considered, oh yeah, they're just greenwashing. But what does it really mean? It's an individual perception, right? So like, let's take the Barbie. Everyone's familiar with Barbie. Fun fact, by the way. At one point, I think it was 95, they sold one Barbie doll every second. That's impact, that's influence. But how does the customer perceive your company? Are they greenwashing? Are they really saying what they're doing, right? So let's take our Barbie line. Now there's this Ocean Beach Barbie, right? The hippie Barbie who is made from recycled or reclaimed ocean plastic. Some customers see that as greenwashing because Mattel is only doing it with one line. So those are two different things. And regulations in the EU, I have to say the EU is so much further ahead with regulations when it comes to sustainability. What is there? One of them is the green claims, right? That really goes into that. This goes against certain claims. You cannot just write on your product, it's eco-friendly. No, you have to back it up. There's a Supply Chain Act. In the US, there's something similar. It's the CDC, no, it's not CDC. Something with C's and D's in there. So, but this kind of like really checking on what is your supply chain, right? So like you have to really be transparent. And I think this is something companies really need to go in. Eco-design requirements in the EU that was established last year that really aims towards circularity, right? Thinking about what is happening to your products throughout the entire lifetime of your product. Material standards, and I think this is a little different between the EU and the US, that the material standards in the US is helping sustainable products kind of like reaching more of a market, right? So there was a regulation in the plush industry for 3 states that only allowed all new material, and this is changing, so they're making those adjustments. Business entities, certificates, right, FSC, you guys heard of all of that. Those are kind of regulations, not necessarily by law, but if we're gonna keep continuing the way we go in toy safety, we did not have toy safety standards 50 years ago, right? This is where we're gonna go with sustainability. Sustainability is becoming a hygiene factor. What means a hygiene factor? When are you missing a toilet? When you need it the most, right? You only miss it when you need it. And this is what's gonna happen with sustainability 5 to 10 years from now. This probably is the most important slide for some of you, and we only have 20 minutes, so I do not go into all of that, right? But this is really the different elements that make a toy sustainable, right? We have the materials that go in there, we have the packaging, and then we have others, right? We have the regulations, longevity of a product, right? Like a lot of companies go, our toys are sustainable because they last forever. Or we just learned plastic takes 1,000 years, so what is happening with your toy after 100 years? And then certificates, right? But this is all customer perception. What I really want to go into is the branding and story. Oh, this is, find me later in the corner if you're interested. I'm not gonna go over the top 7 sustainable materials, but we can share the presentation with you later. Bioplastics, recycled plastics, wood and bamboo. But this is what I wanna get to. Those are the strategies for success. It's the branding. There's a famous American philosopher, his name is Simon Sinek. Some of you might have heard of him. And he states, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you're doing it, right? So you want to get into your branding all the different aspects. And this is really where you stand out, right? We do not need to develop sustainable toys that are just sustainable. We saw earlier what that means, or like how different like varieties are to there. First of all, we need to focus on the toys. It needs to be really cool toys that I want to play with. And toys can be fun, interactive, storytelling, With Shore Buddies, we tell a story. I always say it's like a Finding Nemo, saving our oceans from plastic, right? So like we have animated videos, we have a storybook, we have all of that. And of course, the eco-friendly materials and the community engagement, right? So like we collaborate with nonprofit organizations that is really, yeah, doing that and bringing the education really to where the kids are, collaborating with schools. Circularity is one thing I think we will see on the rise. I have yet to see the first really circular toy. There are prototypes out there, but market ready is that when we really make a difference. And a company structure. A company structure is something like that. This is really what I want to get you to, is have the holistic approach, right? Include everyone and not only your shareholders. Your shareholders, of course, no purpose without profit, right? You have to consider that. But there are ways for a company to really, yeah, stand out. Who have you guys heard of Ben & Jerry's? Who knows Ben & Jerry's belongs to Unilever? And that's true, actually. So they're no longer with Unilever. But when it happened, Ben & Jerry's is such a social impact brand that got such a true and solid fan base. Another thing Simon Sinek says, you don't want to have customer, you want to have raging fans, right? So that's why this is really important. And when Unilever bought Ben & Jerry's, they were like, we love you to be part of our corporation, but don't be part of our corporation, because the customer, they don't buy that, right? Be and stay exactly the way you are, right? And there's certain ways you can do that. We have Shore Buddies, for example, we are so-called California Social Purpose Corporation, where we write in our business DNA that we are not just for profit optimization. We also have an educational value, and we only use sustainable materials. And we learned earlier, sustainable materials is an iteration process, right? Right now, we're using recycled plastic bottles, but we're really looking into a circular economy. So this is something, really consider all the different touching points. If you haven't heard of a B Corporation, I really recommend to look into that, because that's kind of like another standard, right? It's a regulation, how you can set up a corporation, how you can set up a company, really talking about all those different aspects. Again, there is no purpose without profit, no impact. This is an industry. And an industry is called an industry for a reason, because we are all here to make what? Money. So if we ignore that and we're all just gonna say, this is for sustainability, we're not gonna change the world. We're not gonna improve the world. I really do believe we need to get ahead of this mega trend with sustainability, and we have to do it through business. I have 2 minutes left, and I'm done with my presentation. So if you have any questions, I'm back at the high tops for longer discussions, so please see me there afterwards. But if there are any questions in the audience right now, I'm happy to answer them.
Hi, what questions can be asked of the exhibitors here to hold them accountable, that they aren't greenwashing, that it's not just marketing?
Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
What questions can be asked of suppliers of eco products to ensure they are actually eco, to hold them accountable to their claims?
Yeah, what questions can we ask the suppliers to make sure they are actually sustainable and not just greenwashing? Caroline, thank you so much. Great question. Transparency. Transparency is key, right? So like, go there, let them show you the process, go and really check out what is happening. And be the same with your own company, right? This is kind of like the Supply Chain Act they have in Germany right now. Really go and look in everything what is happening, right? Don't be like, oh, okay, they have a certificate, they will go through that. No, really go and check there. Let them show you the process that they're using. Let them show you the sources of the material. Where does it come from? Of course, you will need the certificates, because your customer will eventually ask for those, where it is, but really be transparent and talk about it. One big thing lately talking about is a social impact report. Larger companies doing that. So go in there, show transparency, and do that. Any one last minute question? No? Thank you very much. I'm also available to talk with companies on a consulting basis. If you're looking to become more sustainable, find me afterwards at the High Tops. And thank you again. Have a great toy fair.